Hey guys, welcome back. I've recently had the chance to catch up with Dan from the Financial Interest YouTube channel. Been meaning to catch up with Dan for probably about 6 months now, so it was great to finally catch up with him. We had a great chat, discussed many different topics ranging from Rule 1 investing, as Dan has actually done a couple of Philtown's Rule 1 investing courses, so it was great to hear his insight around that and what he sort of learned from the courses. Also touched on a bit of options trading and also investing in property in the Philippines. Look, I really hope you guys enjoy the video. Definitely drop in the comments below if you do enjoy this sort of video form content, as I'll make some more videos around this as well, I think, going out into the future. I'll leave a link to everything that we discussed in today's video in the description below, link to Dan's YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you go over and check out. Here's some amazing content, especially around the sort of Rule 1 strategies that I know a lot of you, my viewers, like to implement in their own investing as well. With that said, let's roll the video.
Oh, here we go, recording in progress.
Wow, recording, okay, yeah. That's the first time I've heard that. It's like,
same.
No, you must have not done a Zoom record before.
Siri's letting us know what's going on. So we've got Dan here from the Financial Interest YouTube channel. I've been meaning to catch up with Dan for a couple of months now, and it's awesome to finally get you on the channel, mate. Why don't you just give us a quick intro on how you got into investing, maybe a quick background on YouTube, or just, I know you're a big fan of Rule 1, sort of the Philtown sort of investing approach. I'd love to sort of hear your sort of overview on that if you're keen to jump into that.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for talking to me. I know it's like you said, we've been we've been trying to catch up probably for feels like about 6 months now.
6 months, yeah, I think it probably is.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, in terms of me, I'm kind of got into value investing through. I kind of just found some of Philtown's YouTube videos. I should kind of say that before that, I was kind of looking into all sorts of different kind of investing. I was looking day trading, so like people like monitors like everywhere in front of them. Also, scalping, like forex trading. So I was looking at quite a lot of different things, and it's just particularly with the day trading.
Did you go down that road?
Not really, like not in any kind of in any meaningful way, because I was just looking at, for example, there was a guy. I think it's called like No Nonsense Forex. He had some like quite cool videos on building a system, but that's kind of a lot more technical analysis. So building a system around technical analysis, and obviously doing getting a system, doing lots of back testing. But it's kind of incredibly, you need to put in a lot of time to it, and with working still in a full-time job, a kind of the sort of approach that I found that kind of made most sense to me was when I started looking at Philtown's YouTube stuff. It's like not really, heavily. It seems like quite a simple structure to follow and understand. Basically, that you could kind of, once you've done the research into a company, you're just really doing a bit of management to keep up with the latest filings and things like that, just to make sure everything's ticking along. Whereas you see these, like the day traders, like you hit the order fill like 2 seconds too late, and like your edge is completely gone or something like that. You have to be really on it to make any. Although I like the idea of it, like the idea of being good at it, but I think sometimes it's good to admit that if you're probably not going to be one of the 1% that can make a decent living from the day trading side of it.
Despite all the ads that we see on YouTube that we get hammered with, these forex geniuses that manage to make thousands of dollars off it.
And like all the adverts pop up on YouTube all the time. So it's just like, oh yeah, I made like $10,000 in
10 minutes.
2 minutes, or stupid like that. And it's like everyone's like, oh yeah. But yeah, it was kind of, so that was like maybe I guess about 3 years ago now. So that I was really sort of starting to look into it more. I mean, where I live in Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates. So I've been putting money into, it's essentially like almost like a mutual fund before that. So that was when I didn't really know anything about investing, and that's only kind of sat in a Vanguard kind of index fund anyway.
Nice.
So I was like, I started looking into that, and then realized probably that's not necessarily the best way to go with the fees that they charge. I mean, I've still got it now because I don't really want to just pull the plug on it, because it's got quite a lot of money invested in it.
for sure.
already, but I wanted to kind of, learn a bit more about investing myself so I can kind of, take a bit more control of my money as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
How much were they charging you in fees? Do you know?
Sorry, say again, mate.
How much were they charging you in fees on for that fund that you got there? Or was it or
like I think it's a few percent, but obviously I don't know, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's a lot more than if I just went and stashed it in an index fund or ETF myself.
Okay,
but I didn't really know anything about it at that point.
Yep.
So it was, like I say, Phil Town's videos. And then one day I just saw one of his advertisements for the workshop, and that was probably May 2019, I think. So I literally just emailed in, because I think he calls it, when he sends out this, he calls it like a scholarship. So I signed up to the to the thing on the website, and it sort of says, "Oh, you've been selected." And I assume everyone got selected. I don't know. It just seems like it sends you this grand email. It's like, yeah, I'm sure I wasn't the only one. I'm sure this is the other thing I don't know from the sort of videos I've put out about Phil Town. I'm not sure whether, because people ask me, is it really free? I was like, well, I mean, yeah, for me, it was really free. I assume it's free for everyone, but I only know that I didn't pay for the course itself. It just says, okay, you're confirmed on the course, and then like gives you the details. And I was actually, that was in the summer 2 years ago. So kind of July time there. So actually like, okay, at first you're sort of thinking, is it a scam? I was like, it's like, is it a scam? Like, it's okay. Like, I don't have to pay for the course, but I still have to like book a flight and then pay for hotels and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just go for it anyway. I was actually on holiday in the Philippines because my wife's from there and we have a place over there.
Oh, awesome.
So I ended up having to fly there from the Philippines to Atlanta, which is like, I don't know, like a 15 hour flight with a connection in. Yeah, it's a long way to go for like a course for 3 days. Actually, it's quite cool though. I got to spend a couple of days in Atlanta, just looking around there before the course started. And that's one thing that was really good is just, I know he's doing them virtually now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever went back to in person, but I feel like it was so much better being able to physically go to the thing. And it's okay saying you've got the tutors on the same, like on a Zoom call or whatever they're doing it on, but it's not the same as you're sat in a room where the actual guys are there. So
yeah. Absolutely. So how many was in that first class? Was there?
I think it was probably like 80 to 100 people maybe, and they were from literally all over the place. You've got some people who'd driven like an hour. They were in the same state in Georgia, and then you've got other people like they'd driven quite far or flown from Alaska. Some people from India, Europe. Yeah, there's people who've come from all over the place, and. And it's like you do the 3 days, but it's like super intense 3 days, like sort of 10 to 12 hours a day sometimes for a couple of those days. Yeah, you can't even, and this probably will get onto this a bit later, but this is then after you can do the paid course. The workshop is good, but it's just kind of impossible to take in that kind of level of information into your head in like 3 days.
Yeah, I can imagine. Your brain would be fried at the end of the day, wouldn't it? You'd just be like,
yeah, it was totally fried. And then you feel like you have to go and sit in a bar, have a few beers, chat to the other people who's on the course. There was a guy there when I did it. Was from South Africa, so people have gone like a long way to come to this the course. And this the kind of structure is, you sort of go through all the usual Phil Town stuff, the meaning, moat management, margin of safety stuff, and all the valuations. And actually, it's actually works with. He's got all of his tutors, so Phil is actually only. He does some of the classes, part of it, but obviously most, like I'd say, the majority of it's done by his his brother Jeff, helps out, and they've got a lot of. It's basically students who kind of then became like tutors for the who just kind of stayed with him and just became tutors for the course. And they do that for free. Basically, they just give their time once a month to do these courses, just because I think just giving back what they had.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and it was good because we got to go to his place, see the horses, like have a barbecue around his place is massive. It's like the land area around it's just huge.
Got a ranch or something, doesn't he?
It's massive. It's like, and they've got all the stables for the horses, like a proper equestrian track around everywhere. It's some place, honestly. It's you're not going to get to do that, right? If you're you can't virtually really, like, it's not the same thing. Someone just passes you like a burger or something from the side of your camera.
That's awesome though that he puts all that on for free. I think that was one of the questions I actually asked you on one of your videos was like, was this actually free? Because it seemed like a fantastic deal. But
it was.
Sorry, is it a bit of an upsell, like to get you onto the higher, the other courses that you have to pay for? Is it sort of along those lines a little bit?
I didn't feel like it was like a hard sell or anything. They were just they weren't kind of. I didn't feel they were ever pushing you to do it. They just said at the end of it, if any of you are interested in any of the like further paid courses, then just leave your contact details and someone will give you a call about it.
Yeah.
And there's a few different ones where it was like 6 months, 12 months, then 2 years. And I think if you do the longest one, then that's the one where like you can just add on to becoming one of the real one tutors sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the trip, obviously my flight was expensive because I had to fly from the Philippines to
for sure
to Atlanta. So that was, I don't know what it was in I guess it would have been
a couple of
$1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And then the hotel, I guess a few hundred. It was nothing too expensive really.
Yeah.
But it was just cool to actually go to it, and I kind of just treated it as a little like mini holiday myself. So it's like, okay, I'll just just jump over here, see Atlanta for a few days, and that's actually a really cool city as well.
Nice. I haven't been to Atlanta. But that sounds really cool. I would definitely be keen to do it if he does fire back up the the live workshops again, not just the virtual ones that he seems to push on me a fair bit on through his emails at the moment.
Yeah, if you're on the if you listen to it, it's always on there, or if you're on the email list and stuff like that. And I was just say, like, the only thing I really paid for is they gave you this. It's like the workshop kind of notes.
Oh, okay, nice.
And that's just a printout of the notes, and that was like, I think, $20 or something like that. And then when you're there, you can get you can buy the books, of course, when you're there. I think I bought Payback. Payback Time was the only one I'd not read when I went to the course. So I bought Payback Time, and then he just like signed it. I got a picture with him for that, which you'll see on some of our videos, but it's like a really bad picture. It's like half blurred or like a really weird angle from whoever took the picture. So it's like, that was a bit of a mess up with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, it was really, it was really cool, especially to meet all the people as well.
For sure. So you read Rule 1, and you'd read Invested with Danielle Town, and that's sort of what got you interested in Philtown originally, was it? You'd read the books and thought, oh, this is awesome. And
so I think first it was that I found him on YouTube just randomly, and then it was, and then when you do the course or when you sign up to it, they'll send you like loads of like tutorial videos, like a list of kind of 40 or something, just really short videos, and they say just watch those videos and then just read the books, or I think they just read Rule 1 or read Invested, because that's because of Payback Time's a little bit different. The main one everyone kind of falls back to is always Rule 1, and obviously I think that was before the global financial crisis, so it's just
2005
is around,
or somewhere around
there. I think he came out just before that. So I mean, of course, some of the information in there is a little bit dated, where it shows he's using
MSN and that,
all of those different I mean, I still use that Yahoo Finance, but he's got MSN stuff and and some data that's obviously now the information you can get off the internet is a lot a lot better than it was in 2004 or whatever when he wrote
Wrote the book.
when he wrote the book.
It still holds up
So
though.
it's
Like it's still a good book. Like
the principles still you just need to I guess just look at different sources, but the principles are like exactly the same really.
Timeless, eh? They're solid fundamentals, eh? To have, and it's definitely I know for myself it was I only read the book last year. I think it was around maybe June or something. Yeah, when I got back from Japan, I was stuck in lockdown a little bit. So then, managed to get onto a few of his books and a number of other books as well. But thoroughly enjoyable. And I'm actually sort of reading through it again a little bit at the moment as well, just to refresh, because I want to make a video on it on the channel. I've had a few people asking about how to work out the return on invested capital. So I was just sort of rereading that section within the book again, just sort of refreshing myself on it. So how was the pace? Sorry.
No, so the paid course was, they, I think, called me probably like a week or two after they just, because I put my name down to saying I was interested in it. And then they called, I think I had a couple of consultation calls. They kind of, this is almost like what you do if you went to see a financial advisor. You're kind of putting on what your, like your assets, liabilities, like all of that was your aim with investing and like all of that kind of thing. And are you interested? They were just asking questions. Do you think the course is right for you? Are you interested in it? I guess it's just them making sure, on their side that the people are kind of committed to doing it. So I think they offered, I think I was looking at either the 6 months or the 12 months. It was one of those situations where obviously the way they structure it, obviously I think it was like 6,000, the course I did for the 6 months, but it would have only been 9,000 to do the 12 months. That's US dollars.
Yep.
So at first, because actually at that point I was still, I kind of had the money to do it, but I was still paying off some debts as well. So I was like, I'll just do the 6 months, and then if it comes to it, then then maybe I'll just extend to do the other one. But actually, to add on the other 6 months to make it 12 months. But I think that was actually, I finished the course in March, which is when the market all crashed, and then there was like job uncertainty everywhere. So I was like, I didn't know if I would keep my job at that point. So it was kind of everything just sort of like I think I finished the course mid-March or something.
Really?
And that's just an exact point where the market was just like absolutely tanking. Yeah. And which is the time I should have really like had loads of money to like jump in, but I just didn't have any money at that point. So I just missed out on that, which is really
bugger.
Which is really unfortunate. Yeah. But
after you've just done 6 months of training, it's probably all quite fresh in your mind, and you're like, right, this is the opportunity.
Yeah, it's just like, and then it's just come like a little bit, too soon. If you push back that market crash like 6 months or something, it would have been different. It would have been a lot better. But having said that, kind of during COVID, even though, because you couldn't go out and spend any money, so I managed to clear all of my debt. And if I hadn't been kind of lockdowns and stuff, maybe I'd still have it now. But because I couldn't do anything, I kind of managed to clear all of that.
Awesome.
Yeah. But so going off on a tangent there, but into the course, I signed up to do it. Then I think so. I'd finished the workshop in July, and then September, kind of mid-September towards late September, I actually started on the course.
Yep.
So they sign you up, they give you access to the the toolbox on his website and stuff like that.
Do you still use
send
it?
you extra? Yeah, a little bit, probably less than I did.
Yep.
I think I used it a lot at first, but and the sort of the same like with the valuation side, you sort of everyone. I think I heard Brandon and Hamish talking about this the other week on the podcast, just saying everyone tends to start off with that. Yeah. And then probably just ends up with a discounted, like a more normal discounted cash flow thing as kind of time goes on.
Yep.
So
I think everyone does that, eh? Especially if you go through that, and then maybe 6 months or a year or two later or something, you sort of evolve more into.
Yeah, I think you figure out, or I figured out that I don't really like the earnings per share as a kind of as that metric. I think like free cash flows are or cash flow or owner's earnings or whatever is a bit of a better way to look at it.
Which he sort of transitions a little bit to that in his in the invested book that he did with Danielle. He sort of seems to be sort of heading that way a little bit more with his 10 cap valuation, and he had a couple other, can't remember what the other valuation models that he had.
He's got this payback time, which is like a payback time, which is like a free cash flow.
Yeah. Within
thing.
Under 8 years, I think, wasn't it? Isn't that his goal? Under 8 years, that's a sort of rule of thumb to have the
8 years, yeah. And he's got like the reasons for all of that kind of 8 years, because 8 years is like, I don't know, it's normally, he says, is the amount of time it takes it to get back if you're in a private investment. So they say, so he thinks that it would take you to get like 16 years to get your money back in the public markets. So the eight years is his 50% margin of safety. So normally like would be 16 years, but he moves it to 8. So the 8 is because everything with him is like the 50, is like this 50% kind of margin of safety. So in this case, it's like the margin of safety is the years being from 16 down to 8. So yeah, that stuff you kind of you cover all of that in the paid course. I think it was we had a tutor, and it was kind of split up. You do 1 2-hour like webinar, so you'd get over WebEx, just be watching, they'd be going over some slides that you'd have all of the slides like from what you were going to go over each week in the course structure, and then they give you like different tasks to do in the week. I tried to actually do the watch the live ones, because you can obviously do live Q&A when you're on the live ones, but it was an obscure, really like weird time for me. At some point it was like 3:34 in the morning. I did actually manage to do
you got up
do a few of those. I did manage to get up a few times to do. I mean, they had the recordings and you could watch them back, but obviously if you're in the real, like, you can ask Q&A in the chat box if you're obviously if you're in the real
concepts or something
in the real ones. And and that class was much smaller. I guess it's 10 to 15 people when you're in the paid course.
For sure.
So but you're covering, it's like you will cover everything in the workshop, but a bit more, but just in like manageable detail. Like the workshop is trying to pack it into
3 days.
30, well, yeah, sorry, track into 3 days. And then this sort of takes it over six months. So you can split it down and properly digest what's going on. And I think I've done it in one of my videos actually, where I just mentioned this, because I get the same thing, a lot of questions on like, I've listened to the podcasts, I've read the books, I've done like, is it like worth, is this amount worth it to actually pay for the course? And I think my kind of answer is usually like, I've enjoyed, for me, it was definitely worth it. But I could say that probably the only thing you will really cover in the paid course a lot more than in the workshop, or you will see in the books, is just the stuff he does with options.
Right. Because that's something he doesn't really touch on too much. In the podcast, you hear him talk about it a little bit from time to time, but even in the books, like, he doesn't really sort of touch on it. Well,
I think you can kind of see it in some. I can't remember what it was, because his like filings are through like an obscure company or something, aren't they? I think if you're looking at any of his filings, you can kind of. But I think you have to. It's not like the Rule 1 Fund or whatever. It's like,
I think it's the World Fund. Is it the World Fund?
Yeah, it's
something along those lines.
I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's not like you sort of can't find it really easily.
No, it doesn't come up in data filings.
And he's always got that's because what he's mainly doing is usually like doing options just to enter and exit positions. So selling put options to enter a position and then buying them to exit. But obviously the kind of exit thing is only really works if you've got the time, to sort of exit out of it. Whereas if it's completely tanking, you sort of normally like what he says is what they teach is that if the company is like really overvalued, then selling off a kind of small amount of using options to sell off a certain amount of it.
From the position essentially. with call options.
Yeah,
covered calls.
yeah, exactly. But I think more of the thing that's more interesting to people and that works a bit better is obviously selling the put options to enter into positions, which I know you mentioned is something that you've just started kind of doing as well.
I have, yeah, only writing a few contracts here and there through interactive brokers, but I think it's something I'm going to keep moving forward with. I'm quite enjoying it so far. I've never actually had a contract put to me so far. I've only been selling put contracts. I haven't done any covered calls or anything like that, or any other crazy advanced options.
Yeah, I think most of the time they would just say like kind of like it's just sticking to it for certain things. It's only when because obviously you're fine in that situation because you want to buy the shares. If you end up with like naked ones, then you're just gonna, you can like risk if you don't have the money, you can risk like losing like a lot of stuff. And it's just options are great, but you just need to know, you just got to be like very, very careful. You know what's going to happen. And also even how it works in the actual, in the brokerage site, because I think that varies as well. I'm actually trying to set up an interactive brokers account at the moment.
Yes,
but it's a bit of a pain because my address is a bit annoying. It's like doesn't recognize it, so I have to go through some kind of long
right. So you have to go
paperwork
through
way of doing it. Well, I think it's you can get it here, but it's just like the verification of it. Like I live in a really weird kind of it's not like here you have to have public like PO boxes and stuff.
Right.
Some buildings have them, but some buildings are sort of like private villas that have got rooms, and it's like trying to properly be able to verify your address so you can get all of the approvals process going.
Sounds like a headache. But no, I've only recently signed up to Interactive in the last maybe 4 or 5 months now. But it's a fantastic brokerage site, especially if you're interested in selling put contracts or going down that road. And that's purely what I use Interactive for. I haven't actually bought and sold any other equities through that.
I think they just have I think everyone who's like all the professionals seem to use them. All the proper hedge fund they like everyone says the platforms. Yeah, the big boys. Yeah. I mean, if I know they used to have a minimum, I think they changed that though. They used to have a minimum amount you had to like put in, but I think they changed that.
Yeah, I think there was a fee where you had to have like a monthly fee. I can't remember exactly, maybe $10 or $20.
Yeah, or you had to have like a certain amount of
50,000 or something in your account.
Yeah, 50,000, which is like which I guess kind of rules a lot of people.
Yeah,
people out, which is why they're all on Robinhood.
That's it exactly. But no, as far as I actually think Phil Town uses Rule 1. I was looking over his SEC filing there for his most recent quarter there. And I'm sure I saw Interactive Brokers was the broker that he had put the options through. So yeah, I imagine a lot of
I think so. I think so. They on the course, it's kind of strange because they teach you on the TD Ameritrade platform Thinkorswim.
Yep.
So they'll teach you on that, but then it's kind of funny. So they teach you on that, and they have a partnership with TradeStation.
Yep.
Where they get like, I think whether it's reduced fees or whatever, but he actually uses interactive brokers. So yeah, I think everyone who's playing with any kind of big money uses them just because they're, I mean, there's no risk. I don't think that there's going to be any problems with them. And they have access to I think just like the largest number of markets as well. And obviously with derivatives and stuff like that, you can do all of that. Do all of that on there. Yeah. On
Interactive. Yeah, that's not something I've sort of delved into. I've only basically been selling a few put contracts of Alibaba, actually. There's been some pretty good premiums coming up on, this is not financial advice or anything. You shouldn't go sell put contracts on it. But the premiums have been fantastic at the moment, especially if you're sort of buying it when it was hovering around the 150s there. The premiums were really good. And I would have been happy if the contracts got put to me, and they were only holding them contracts. I think I had one for like 40 days and one was 21 or something along those lines. And yeah, it was incredible. The little premiums that I was collecting off that. Only writing one contract. I'm not writing tens or hundreds of contracts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you've got the money to buy, like if you buying 10, and then you can suddenly buy like whatever it is, like 1,000 shares of it.
Definitely.
It's okay if you've got the money to
if you do
to
get
do
put
that.
to,
Yeah.
no,
If you do get put, then you like that's the other side. Obviously, you've got to have the money to take the contracts.
Absolutely. But I think if you want the underlying business, like Alibaba, I'm quite happy to own another 100 shares of Alibaba. So, but then if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because I've already have a position with Alibaba. So it's a good way to. I think if you already hold a position with the company that you're putting put options on, I think it's a good way to sort of,
And actually, it's one of the that was one of the things they look at as well in the course. So in the course, you'd be like, you'll get your whatever the fee is from selling the put option, and then you can actually they sort of tell you, okay, your buy price can be like slightly above, but obviously once you take the, like, say it's, I don't know, $10-$20, you can subtract the premium from that, and then that takes you into your buy price territory. And they do a bit of stuff about, capital allocation, reducing your cost basis, because they'll sort of teach you, okay, you keep buying these options, say, and each time you're buying them, you're essentially kind of reducing your cost basis because you're getting more money into that. And then sometimes they'll sell off a small stake if it gets really high, or use call options to sell off a small stake if it gets high. And just like a lot of different things you can do to just essentially, basically they're saying, like, just, it's like you're going to the casino with free money. You've taken all of your original investment has been now like taken off the table through selling small amounts or using options to do it, and like a few different, and entering in tranches, like rather than just going all in with your full amount, then just trying to buy in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different
30% or whatever.
And then, like, obviously if it's dropping every time it drops down, you're spending the same amount of money, but obviously you're getting more shares. So each time you're kind of, if you're buying as it goes lower, and then your cost basis keeps getting lower and lower each kind of time. I mean, that's the idea, obviously, in a perfect world, but I don't know if like that's really gonna how realistically that plays out in reality. Everyone's like, keep buying when it goes low, but sometimes I guess you can sit for years, and it's, especially with a good business, it's like you can sit for years and it's not gonna go lower. That's one of the only kind of like I'd say one of the only sort of problems with that. It's all very nice on paper, but you look at certain companies and you think like, okay, are they ever really going to drop 50%? I don't know. If you look at Google or something, is Google going to, it's like, Facebook is a little bit different, I think, just because they constantly have so many problems with data protection and all of they quite often, if you look at the cycles of Facebook or Meta or whatever we're calling them now, then you'll always see like every 2 or 3 years there'll be some kind of significant drop because they've got some legal case, and it's like happens all the time, just because they have to. They're almost, the law is made up after they've done something, because they're kind of like right on the edge of all of that stuff. No,
it's a fantastic business, Facebook. I know a lot of people sort of tarnish it for being a bit unethical for some of their practices and things, but you look at any of the numbers on it and it's off the charts. It's but getting it at that margin of safety. I mean, we've seen the pullback recently. We've got back to, I think, maybe 315 or 310, even possibly somewhere around there. But But then,
I think I've seen it's.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it always seems like Facebook always, from the kind of calculations I've done before, they always kind of skirt a little bit closer to the value than Google or Alphabet. Alphabet doesn't seem to ever really
pull back,
like ever pull back. No, not like, and it's like, okay, is it ever going to do that? It's like you kind of find it hard to imagine that, like there'd be I don't know. You never know with these things, but even like the whole pandemic was. Yeah, they dropped, but they were like, everything dropped, but it was back up pretty quick.
The whole market. You blinked and
I think that was like everyone was surprised by. I guess it's just obviously like the actions that the stimulus actions from the Fed or whatever. Yeah,
crazy. No, it was one of those things that I was desperately trying to get on top of it all, and then all of I imagine a lot of us were in the same boat before we know it. Everything was starting to run straight back up again. Even Facebook,
everyone's sort of scrambling
I
to like research stuff and like,
I was frantic. I just finished up the season in Japan, and I was over there. It was end of March. The market was tanking. I was like getting super excited. I was trying to put together a watch list real quick, but it was a frantic sort of month or two, and then before I know it, everything was running straight back up again.
Yeah, it was too fast. It was just like from the moment it kind of hit the bottom, it was like it just bounced sort of like after another month or something.
Yeah, March 23rd, I think it was, or 24th or something. Yeah, she just, as soon as she bounced, the Fed said they'll backstop it, sort of thing, she was straight back up.
Yeah, straight out, and then no chance.
Nah, I think even Facebook got down to mid 150 or 140 or something from memory.
Yeah, they did. They were quite low. That was a really good good opportunity for buying in. Yeah. But yeah, the same with me. I missed the boat with that one.
Yeah, I think there's a few of us that missed the boat on a few different companies, but I think that we're a lot more prepared now. If we get another correction like that, we should hopefully be ready to go. But one thing I did notice on Phil Town's most recent 13F, if we call it that, where he previously sold put options on Sprouts Farmers Market at $28, which I think that was maybe second quarter. Yeah, on his previous quarter, we were like, oh, he's got puts on Sprout Farmers Market. Whereas in this most recent quarter, we've seen that he's got call options at 23. So I'm not too sure what was going on there. So maybe his valuations changed a little bit on Sprouts. But I was like,
I heard this. Yeah, I've not really kind of.
This only came out I only learned this yesterday. So I was just trying to rack my head on what he was what his thought might have been there. Where he's happy to have puts on it at 28, but then selling calls.
But was he just like selling options on them, or does he actually own any of it? Was it like?
No, he did. He got them put to him. So he does actually have Sprouts in his portfolio. I can't remember what the percentage is in his portfolio. But he does have Sprouts.
He has some random stuff in his portfolio as well.
Yeah, he does. A lot of war-orientated sort of companies like hunting.
That's the kind of like, obviously him being in the
military,
the Marine Corps or whatever it was in Vietnam, and he's like, because everyone's got and he's like, it's the stories and stuff. He sells some of the stories as well in the course when he's doing the kind of final sort of wrap up for the course. He's got some like between like the Vietnam War and his like rafting in the Grand Canyon. And like nearly killing the guy or whatever he was the one, like he saved him, and then he's the one who told him to come and do like investing with him, and he'd teach him how to, I think he calls him the wolf or something.
Yeah. And he's the one that started him off on his journey. I think he was on his investment. That one guy took down the river.
And then he's like goes in.
Nice story. But no, he does refer to that. Even I think it was might have been in Rule 1 or Invested, I can't remember, where he's talking about the windage growth rates, applying aim off, when you're shooting targets or shooting enemy or whatever.
Just imagine like, where's the wind going?
Your windage growth rates. I think it was an Invested actually where he touched on that with Danielle, which is a fantastic book. I really out of all of his books, I think that was probably my favorite. I think I listened to it through Audible, which was such easy listening through that.
Yeah. I need to. I was saying, I think I sent you a message before. I really need to get into Audible, because sometimes I struggle to find time to read books, but I'll like do a lot of stuff where if I'm out driving between places for work or just walking, so I've got plenty of time to listen to stuff, but it's just hard to find time to sit and like read a book. The last thing I've obviously just finished reading a few weeks ago was Richer, Wiser, Happier, which is
fantastic.
like great book.
Such a good book, eh? No, it was really good. Have you listened to Tom's podcast where he had William Green on?
Yeah, it was really good. So really I listened to Tom's, and then obviously in the summer I think he was on in Invested as well. Seems like a really nice guy, actually. Seems like he's quite, happy to just talk to anyone who will kind of listen. and also because you always get different stories, slightly different stories as well. Yeah. If you listen to them all, they're not all like, he's not just recounting the same things that's in the book. Sounds like he could have written about 3 books.
Yeah.
Really, with the amount of information.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, that was probably one of my favorite books I think I've read this year was Richer, Wiser, Happier. But definitely recommend
Yeah, I
it.
think
It's definitely worth getting onto. And now they've rolled it out, I think it was, you can just buy your 12 credits because it's on a monthly sort of credit system with Audible. But now
okay.
I paid, I think it was $150, $160 for the year Australian. And it gets you 12 credits. So it works out to be whatever it is. 11.
So what's that like? So you get, and is a book like one credit, or how's it?
Yeah,
does it depend?
exactly. But some of the books you might be buying, especially if they're investing related books, they might be $50, $60 books. And then you buy them for $11.50, or depending on the package you sign up to. But that's the one I went with. And now they've also released a whole back catalogue of free Audible books, which there is some good ones in there. There's a few Robert Kiyosaki's ones, which I've sort of gone off him a little bit.
Yeah, I think I listened to. I can't remember what it was even on, but somewhere there was an audio of like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Which is like everyone's kind of gateway, but into the whole personal finance kind of thing as well.
Sure. And I think that's what started us for everyone, or for a lot of us anyway. But I don't know, as you sort of progress with your investing, you sort of, I don't know, for me personally, I've sort of gone away from him a little bit. I listened to his podcast for a little bit, and then I sort of lost the love a little bit there. And I actually went to one of his investment seminars in Perth, which is similar sort of thing to what Phil Town does there. It was only a 1 day, more real estate based. He wasn't there himself, but same sort of thing. Some of his tutors or students, or previous students maybe. But it was a very hard sale by the end of it, sort of thing. Like, it was an upsell to try and get you onto a paid course that you
I don't really like anything that's like, they're doing the super hard sell. It's like, just, it kind of puts you off as well if you see the, definitely. I don't, some people I feel like they're a little bit like, it's kind of like a bit brainwashed as well.
Yeah.
You've got the really hardcore fans who are just like, will just kind of do anything.
Yeah.
And it's like a bit of a cult.
It is. It was quite astonishing to see. I've never been to like a seminar before, but it was maybe like 50 or 60 of us there on a Sunday. It was, we booked in, same thing, sign up. Oh, you've been accepted. All right, off we go. And to be honest, a lot of the content throughout the day was actually quite good. A lot of it I sort of already knew, so there was nothing sort of majorly earth-shattering for me. But by the end of the course, the guy that was hosting the course, he had pretty much everyone eating out of the palm of his hand, like, oh, we've got 12 slots at this certain price. You just got to get to the back of the room, sort of thing, and sign up. And people were like literally fighting to get to the back of the room. Yeah, people were like so into it.
I think, taking advantage of the, like trying to say, there's limited people, trying to create like a bit of a frenzy to get people to to sign up before they can really think about what they're doing.
Yeah, and they said, we can accept credit cards and all the rest of it. And it wasn't a huge amount of money. I think the first course was $1,200 from memory, which took you onto like a 3-day intensive or a 5-day intensive maybe. And then I think there was another course past that was maybe $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever it may be. But yeah, people were literally, there were chairs flying. People were running to the back of the class, couldn't sign up fast enough. I didn't sign up, but it was still an interesting day. After that, I sort of, went off him a little bit from after that. Even though he wasn't there himself, it was still sort of sponsored by him or his Rich Dad network.
Yeah, I think it's just I guess it's quite a big business. I think he talks about they talk a lot about real estate. I think it's in that book. How he bought a lot of real estate in all over the place. Yeah,
for sure. Which is, that's sort of how I sort of started off in my investing journey, was in real estate, but now sort of more transitioning over to the equity markets. One more thing before we wrap it up today, mate. I'd love to sort of have a quick chat around your property you've got there in the Philippines. That's quite an interesting sort of topic. Well, I think it is anyway. Do you want to walk us through that just quickly before we wrap it up today?
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned before, like my wife is from the Philippines, so we met over here in Abu Dhabi. So nice. I think actually one of the first or second time I went to the Philippines, it's in the area where she lives. It's called Angeles City, which is about geographically it's not that far from Manila. It's just north of Manila, where the US used to have their air base, and their air base Clark is that was their old air base, is now the airport for that area.
Yep.
So she'd been looking to get a house anyway over there.
Right.
So we like looked at, they're just kind of the normal, they're just sort of, there's like 4 different model houses you can pick. So yeah, the house is like it's like they call it a subdivision. So it's just like a gated community.
Right.
It's got its own like, like a pavilion, like gym, swimming pool, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think about 2015 we saw it, and then we put a deposit down for them to actually start building it.
Oh, so you got it built.
So
right.
So it was built. Yeah, it was built like just on a model design. So you pick get the plot of land.
Yep.
And then you just kind of like, we paid the deposit down, and then like came back the next year, and it's like partially nearly finished, and then like the following year, and it's kind of all completely done. But
nice. And you've just got that as a
like we're married. Is
that right?
So at the moment, it's actually it's a bit annoying because it's kind of partly furnished. Every year we were kind of buying more stuff for it.
Yep.
We wanted to actually just like obviously furnish it, sort the garden out a bit, and then try and maybe like put it on Airbnb or something, or kind of rent it out, because we're not over there enough really to stay there, but we still need to spend quite a bit of money on it to get it to a point where
it's rentable,
where it could be rentable. But then obviously the Philippines is kind of still kind of partially not locked down, but it's restricted on who can go there at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully that's soon.
yeah. I mean, we've kind of been stuck here, so we've not been. Actually, the last time I went was the time when you did the same time I did the Real One course. So it's 2019. We normally go in at least once a year.
Nice.
But I think if you look, like, I'm never going to be able to really afford a place back in the UK, and I'm done with the weather there, to be honest.
You don't like the
winters? Yeah, it's just like it's amazing. Like when you live somewhere, so like living in here, it's like 355 days of the year. It's just clear skies here, and it makes you feel so much better. Just like, because I lived like the place. I mean, I've lived in a few places in the UK, but I'm actually from near Manchester, so it's not even, it's just like constant, like there's like a gray it's just drizzle. Yeah, it's not even like, if it properly rained and was sunny, you'd be all right with it, but it's just like 365 days a year, just like gray skies and drizzle. It's just you just want it to commit to something and actually like rain properly.
Yeah,
but it won't do that. So then so when I kind of had enough of the weather, but that was one of the other reasons why I moved out here. But jumping back to that, I was just saying it's I think the prices are going up a bit now in the Philippines, but it's so cheap to buy a house there compared to, you see a lot of people like they'll retire there, so it's kind of good if you go to Philippines with money already. Then you're sorted, because the cost of living is relatively cheap there. But of course, if you had to get a job there, like a normal job, your salary would be like, or the wages would be like really, really low.
Yeah, for sure.
But people like, I think though, from what I've seen, it's like the country is developing quite fast. I think it's one of the fastest growing economies in Asia.
Right.
And I'd like to actually get a few more properties, just get this one paid off, try and get some, because this one is kind of more in the city, and obviously Philippines is generally about the beaches and stuff like that in the islands. Sure. So it'd be great to get somewhere like that. And also, exactly. And also, I didn't mention this before. Like, I love the kind of all the concept of like tiny house stuff. I still like live in a studio apartment, so I'm kind of like thinking, I don't know. And I saw you doing your whole doing that up, and I really like all of the the videos doing that and all the tiny house sort of stuff. But that kind of, it's not so much I know people obviously like Australia, New Zealand, probably that's kind of they're doing it so they're not kind of saddled with like really big loan. Debt. Yeah, because the houses prices are quite crazy, and same in some parts of the US as well. But I just think it's like a really cool, like the concept of it. Yeah. And I think I don't know how I would work it, but I think something similar you could do something similar in like the Philippines, because it's got like a kind of young market, like quite a lot of young people and to afford houses there is quite expensive. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is a business opportunity somewhere. Who knows?
Never know. But is that the long-term goal? Is it to end up sort of retiring over there in 10, 20 years or 30 years? Or
yeah,
whatever?
I think so. I think I just want to spend some time living in Asia, just because I've not. I've obviously visited a lot of times, but I think it'd be quite cool to. I just like that. I mean, the food, the culture there, it's really cool. Especially like the Philippines is, like they're kind of Catholic, so they're generally like the families are like huge. So someone will always be around. Just like, oh, this is uncle from this, and it's like, who's that again? And there's like like everyone's just around each other's house, just barbecues and it's not like there's a lot of kind of poverty there, but you wouldn't know it because the people are like so friendly and like happy. It's like kind of opens your eyes a bit to the way we live, because to what you need, because in like being British, it's just like it's kind of miserable, like just the mentality is like
miserable.
That kind of everything is miserable. Yeah, it's just like I'll just complain about stuff, not because you expect anyone to do anything about it, just because you want your like right to complain.
Yeah. Part of being from the UK, I think. But no, I agree. I mean, I've worked with quite a few Filipinos over the years, and they're a friendly bunch, and they're so welcoming. I've been to they've hosted dinner parties, and we end up doing karaoke and all the rest of it. And
that's the one thing you'll hear. You'll just be walking down the streets and you'll see like blaring like karaoke from somewhere.
They love it, eh? God, they love it. They're into it. And the food, like you said, like I mentioned earlier, the food is so good. Or just in Asia in general, if you go in Thailand, Vietnam, or wherever it may be, the food is so good. Like I think I could live off that food for the rest of my life and still be happy with it, eh?
Yeah, me too. Especially like I was in Thailand a few years ago, and just the street food is just like
incredible,
unbelievable, and they're so cheap. Just live off that stuff. Have you been like much traveling around Asia?
Have I?
Yourself? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I spent almost 2 years actually. Me and my wife took a couple of years off, and we went all through Southeast Asia, and in between, so we did 2 winter seasons in Japan, but in between both winter seasons, we just went through the lot. Yeah, Thailand and Vietnam, Burma or Myanmar, China, Nepal. All through the lot basically, and taking our time. We weren't sort of rushing it, and we were doing it on a dirtbag budget. We weren't living it up. But in saying that, we were sort of living off around, from memory, it was around 12 to 1,500 Australian a month, and that was including travel, and we were going by overland. We weren't really sort of flying much in between all of that. That was all sort of just traveling on the local buses and things. But you're staying in comfortable accommodation, especially in Vietnam. Like Vietnam was incredible actually. Have you been to Vietnam?
Yeah. I didn't. I only spent, I think it was there for 8 days, but it's like the people super friendly, like amazing scenery. I sort of did, because we didn't have time to sort of travel up on kind of road, so we ended up flying into Ho Chi Minh and then having to get another flight to Hanoi. I would have liked, if I'd had time, I would have liked to have just like kind of driven up, trekked kind of up from one to the other, but they're totally different cities though. You get the French colonial, like obviously old Saigon, like the French colonial buildings, wide streets. And then you go to Hanoi where it's just like everything is packed into a tiny space, crazy, the roundabouts. So you have to just cross the road.
With
like
the
crazy. The scooters and you just sort of have to walk. They will stop, but you just have to walk at a steady pace, and like everyone will sort of stop.
It's a trust thing, you just like, right, I've just got to do it. And then you walk out there and then
it's quite interesting. Yeah. And and then also just did a kind of couple of days like around Halong Bay. It's like great place.
Oh, it's awesome. You can really live cheap in Vietnam too. We ended up spending a few months there. I was kite surfing for about maybe 6 weeks just out of a place, Mui Ne.
Kite surfing. So that's like kite surfing, snowboarding. That's where you get your name.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So to be honest, I haven't been doing much kite surfing the last couple of years. I mean, just flat out in Japan, and COVID and everything sort of threw a spanner in there. But that was awesome. Nice little beach there. And I think I was paying, from memory, it was like 150,000 Vietnamese dong a month, which worked out to be about 150, 160 Australian for my own little room, aircon, little ensuite. And I was like, this is incredible. And then meals were like $1 or $2 for like a big piece of chicken and rice. And it was incredible. You could live off about 300-400 a month. I mean, this is going back maybe 6-7 years ago now. But even now, let's say it might be 500-600 a month. It's still incredibly cheap to live there. And there's a few guys down there. Like I've met one of these, this Chinese guy that lived in Hong Kong, had just chucked it in. He was living the corporate life in Hong Kong, thought this is not for him. Took all his money and just, they've been living in Vietnam for about 5-6 years, just does visa runs every 3 months, I think it was. And he just kite surfed every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was like,
yeah, you know what? It's like, I kind of hear a lot of stories about people that just kind of, they get to the point where they're just burnt out with this because you just work. And then it's like, you kind of have to weigh up what's the value of the money, or do you want to actually just spend your time enjoying yourself? It's like, what's the trade-off really? It's, you do this, but then are you going to just go on holiday a few weeks a year?
Yeah.
Or just live off nothing and just do what you want? It's like, you see a lot of people, it's like, it seems to be like a growing movement of people doing that. Yeah.
Oh, especially with Asia, like you were saying there earlier, like it's so much cheaper to live there. Like you can do that, especially if you're taking money from, the UAE or Australia or New Zealand or wherever you may be from, taking that good wage that you may have from there to, like I work with guys offshore. They were living out of Bali, they'd fly back from the rig here in Australia and just living in Bali.
I actually spoke to a guy, I was on the plane like, this is like 4 years ago. He was just coming out from working somewhere offshore in WA, or like either offshore in the mines or something. And he was living in the Philippines. He was just doing whatever it was, like 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off, or a month on, month off, something like that. And he would just like literally just fly in, because it's just take the money because it's good money, and then just live somewhere cheap, and then just go, just keep flying back.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I'm working with a Filipino chef actually, a couple of months back, and same sort of thing. He's built this amazing house, like in the Philippines, just out of Manila. And he was showing us pictures of it. I was like, show us a picture, mate. And it was like a mansion, I was like, this thing, man.
Yeah.
It's like incredible. And he paid, I think it was equivalent around 300,000 Australian, which over there he said that's like top tier, sort of quite expensive.
I mean, what's up? I think
it's incredible.
I think he's trying to convert. So I think it's only like something like maybe 60,000. I can't remember what the conversion. I think maybe $60,000 a US or something we paid for our like 3-bedroom house.
Which is incredible, isn't it? Like that's just,
it's nothing. Like it's actually my mum and stepdad, they've got like a motorhome that's like double that. Yeah. It's just like a camp van. It's like costs like twice as much as our house.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's like crazy what you can.
I just don't understand how they can build it for so cheap. Obviously the labor costs are a lot cheaper, but all your materials, like I just don't understand how they can, all your timber and all your finishings and everything, they seem to just be able to get it at a lot cheaper rate than what we can in Australia and New Zealand. Like the average build here is, even just for a standard, 3x2 or 4x2, you're looking at 400,000 or 500,000. Then the land on top of that, depending where you are, obviously locations.
Yeah.
But you can drop $1 million pretty comfortably and just have a nice sort of new home, I guess. But man, it's definitely comparable. It's a lot cheaper over there for that. But then the wages are, your wages would only be.
Yeah, I think unless you've got some kind of, the best way about it seems to be if you've got some kind of online. I've met a few people who were just in the Philippines. They got like online businesses in like other countries. They were just living in the Philippines, but they just like all their business stuff was. One guy has actually had business in Australia, but he was actually still working for this business, but he was at the time the business was in like Perth, so he was in the same time zone. So he's just like, he was working in the office, but he was just working in the Philippines, but it's like on the same time zone as the West. So he was just working remotely, but like living in the Philippines, but earning like Australian money.
Yeah, geez, that's bloody good going if you can pull that off. Yeah, because the wages obviously in Australia are, incredible. So even coming from New Zealand, like the wages in New Zealand, I think when I was in New Zealand before I went to Australia, I was on like $16 an hour, and I was like, "You beauty, like I'm doing all right." And then the minute you touch down in Australia, everyone's like, "Yeah, minimum's $25-$30 an hour." Pretty much doubled my wage overnight. I was like, "Wow."
Is there much difference between the Australian and New Zealand dollar? Is it like fairly similar, the exchange?
Yeah, it's usually lose about 20% if you're taking, or it depends. For a while there, for a year or two, it was on par, but about the moment, I think it's about 20% difference between the two. But it's always good, especially if I'm over here in Australia sending money back home, I'm sort of gaining that 20% or whatever it may be, 15-20%, which was nice, especially when I was started investing in property in New Zealand. It was good. I think at the time it was maybe even slightly more, maybe 25% or something. So it was awesome. I was sort of getting that currency gain on top as well, which was a nice little added bonus.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, I think we might wrap that up there for today's video. It's been awesome chatting with you, and we'll have to do this again sometime. And for anyone that, if you want to give a bit of a plug, how can people sort of get in touch with you? Obviously through the YouTube channel. Are you on Twitter or TikTok or anything?
I saw you said you signed up to TikTok the other day. I'm still not on TikTok.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I need to look into that. No, I'm on actually obviously the YouTube is financial interest.
Yep.
But I'm on Instagram is like at financial_interest, and Twitter is at fin_interest. Actually, Twitter is like, I think I'm probably similar to you. I've got like a Twitter account, but I'm really just following people. I'm not like actually saying. I keep trying to get into Twitter more because it's really, really cool. But
I'm in the same boat.
These things take so much time.
Oh yeah, it is. Between all the things and then your time is so precious, and I'm trying to juggle everything else. But yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a good resource that we should need to tap into a bit more. But it's just something I haven't really tapped into myself yet. But I know a lot of the other guys like Tom and Brad and I think Investing with Frank, and there's quite a few of them on there that really sort of
I'm following those guys as well, and then you can kind of pick up on some of the other people the people they follow as well, and it's like, and then you just end up with the whole like really good like value investing kind of community of people to see resources as well. Yeah,
for sure. No, it's definitely something we need to tap into a bit more, I think. Anyway, awesome, mate. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, and we'll definitely have to get you back on again. And like I said, for everyone, definitely go over and check out Dan's channel. There's some amazing content, especially more around the Rule 1 sort of investing full town sort of philosophy, but definitely go over there and check it out. All right, cheers, mate. We'll catch up next time.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot. Great to talk to you. Thanks.